Welcome to the Student Information Services bi-weekly Clerks to Chat recap for May 7th, 2026. My name is Esther Lewars, and I am one of the supervisors who support the elementary school and facilitate the bi-weekly Clerks to Chat. So May is Asian American Pacific Highlander Month. So congrats. I hope in your schools you're recognizing the individuals who are of this culture. It's Teacher Appreciation Week this week. And these are the items that were on the agenda. So we did the usual welcome, talked about the important dates, the data management champions, the data management expectations as it pertains to state student numbers. Talked about the 2026-2027 scheduling expectations, summer school responses, Cycle 4 progress reports, and the end of year closeout process, and then closed out with our resources. So this week was also testing week, NJSLA. So our schools were administering the test, and central office staff had the opportunity to go out and be monitored. So I had the opportunity to be at Michelle Obama School all week. So I had a great time helping and leading, and I wouldn't say making sure that they were doing what was needed, because they were doing what was expected, right? So our testing department is a part of OPPET. That's the office that Student Information Services is under, and it's all led by our executive director, Miss Rashonda Jackson. And so the testing team had prepared all the schools with what's necessary and what's needed. And so as a monitor, it was just to make sure that things were happening as expected. On the day of the chit chat, it just so happened that there was a science fair going on at Malcolm X Shabazz, and a teacher told me to stop by. So on my way back to central office, I made a quick stop to Malcolm X Shabazz and saw some of the displays that were there. So kudos to all of our students who did the NJSLA. There were some high schools that were doing AP testing as well. My son is a 11th grader, so he's also doing the AP exam. So, all right, enough of that. On to the important dates. So, as mentioned, Teacher Appreciation Week, NJSLA administration. The chit chat was on the 7th. Summer school response non-responses, those were due on May 8th. On May 14th, our office is conducting 2 sets of training. The first one is incident management at 9 a.m. and Babu Yalaman Chili is managing that process. On the same day at 12:30 is a clerk refresher session. So any clerk or individual who uses PowerSchool and need a refresher, you can register to attend that session. Information was shared in principal points. This session is going to be focused on the end of year closeout process, right? And then last thing is to make sure you are getting ready for Cycle 4 progress reports. Q4 progress reports are due on May 21st. All right, so data management champions. So during the chit chat, there were a couple schools that were left off this list, and that's Technology High School and JFK. But here are the schools that had 0 errors in their PowerSchool on the day that I ran the report. So it's Eastward Elementary, Ironbound Academy, Lafayette Street, Oliver Street School, Technology High, Abington Avenue, Dr. E. Alma Flag, Elliott Street, First Avenue, Franklin Elementary, Rafael Hernandez, Roberta Clemente, Salome Urena, and in the Southwest, Chancellor Avenue, Harriet Tubman, Speedway Avenue, our specialized school, Branch Brook, 14th Avenue, and JFK. So thank you again to all the schools who continue to have 0 errors in their PowerSchool. So that means when we're ready to close out the school year, there is not much that they need to do other than, the other expectations. So, in terms of data management, we continue, especially now that students are testing, to make you aware that it's very important that all of your students have a state student number. You can, from the PowerSchool start page, do a search query for state underscore student number equals, and that's it, equals blank, equals nothing. So any student that does not have a state ID in their profile, they're going to come up. You press enter, you'll see a list of students. If you don't see anything when you do that, that means all of your students have a state ID. You can add grade underscore level greater than -1 to get all of your kindergarten and up, but eventually all of your students need to have a state ID. And why do I say that? State IDs are needed for state assessments like NJSLA. They're needed for us to report any incidents. So those who manage the incident management process, your school principal, as well as at least 2 other designees, they have to complete those reports in PowerSchool, and it requires a state ID when we are getting ready to submit those reports to the Department of Ed. The last reason why they need a state ID is if your student is attending your school, they're new to the district, and they don't have a state ID, we cannot report them to the state at the end of the year on June 30th when we have to submit our attendance and various reports, program report to the state. All right, so very, very important that you make sure all of your students have a state ID. If they don't have one, there is a SID request form that's on our support website. I won't open it up. You should all know how to get to it. If you don't, send me an email. I will provide you with additional um, assistance on how to complete the form. And let's see what's next. So 2026-27 scheduling. We placed a notice in principal points again that your administrator needs to select one of 2 options for creating your 2026-27 schedule. Before, we allowed schools to manually create each section, but oftentimes there's, create errors. And so to make things more efficient, we have now only 2 options. The first option is to copy your 2025-2026 master schedule. So if there are minimal changes that are needed, right? So might be some room numbers changed, the teachers are going to be different. All of that can be switched around. But if you have major changes that are going to be happening, the other option is to use the SIS scheduling creation tool. And that's a tool that Dr. Adnan and our director, Watsky, worked together to create. As of right now, I think the deadline was to complete the scheduling selection form by today, May 8th. If you haven't done it, do it as soon as possible. So as of right now, the scheduling creation tools have been pushed out to every school's SysTask team folder, right? There should be in your Google Drive for you to access. If you said you want to copy your schedule, then next week we'll review everyone's response and start to copy your schedule accordingly based on the responses. All right. So if you had decided that you want to copy your master schedule and now you realize you have some major changes and you want to use a scheduling tool, just go ahead and fill out that form again, right? So we will use your last submission as the one that that you're using. So and when I say your administrator will need to fill it out. And of course, you are going to be an integral part of the process, but we want your admins to be the person to make that decision. Okay, summer school responses. So as of today, May 8th, again, all schools should have contacted their parents to confirm who will be attending summer school. So for summer school, there are 2 sets of students. There are the students who are identified as mandatory. These students, based on their test scores, the district has decided that they should attend summer school. Now we know that, due to circumstances, not all students will come. So there was a form that was sent to all parents in PowerSchool, in the PowerSchool form. And so if the parent has not completed the form, we ask schools, not necessarily you, the PowerSchool clerk, but we ask schools to contact the parents and get a response from them. Now, there is a support guide that's on our SIS PowerSchool support page that you can access to see exactly what needs to be done. But I'm going to try my best to go through it right now as quickly as possible. So on the start page, and let me go back. So there's a mandatory students. They do not need to complete the Qualtrics application that is due on May 15th, right? So anyone who, outside of the mandatory students who wants to go to summer school, they can apply to go. To see a list of all of those students, you can search PowerSchool for the summer school note field and put the ampersand next to it as you see on the screen. And that will give you any field that has information in there, right? So if there's something in there, it's going to show you those students. You press enter and you should see them. Now, you can also search PowerSchool to see your mandatory students only. If you do not have a bilingual program, then you don't need to search for the summer underscore school underscore program underscore EL equals plus 2026. All right. Just search for the one that has achieve and you see all of the students. If you have both, then you can search for both and you can put the plus sign next to either one, the second one that you add, to get a total list. Now, if all of that is confusing to you and you're like, what is Esther talking about? There is a way to use our SQL reports, summer school, elementary mandatory summer school students, and you can just run that report and you see all the students. When you get to those students, you can make them, there's a feature where you can make them your current selection. You will need to make a current selection to follow up on the non-responses. All right. So all of the reports that start with elementary mandatory or elementary under the summer school SQL reports, you can run them and see what they give you. So you can run the summer school elementary programs 2026 application responses just to see what the parents filled out so far. To get to the forms, there is a data and reporting, form reports, response reports, summer programs 2026 application. That's another way to see the actual forms that the parents completed or that you or someone at your school completed on their behalf. Okay, so the non-responses, these are the ones that are critical because we want to make sure that we contact and confirm with every parent of the mandatory summer school students. Now, I mentioned before, in order to see the responses of the non-responders, you must first make a current selection. And you can make a current selection by any means necessary that you've normally done so. The best one is to run that elementary mandatory report, make them your current selection, then follow the steps that I'm about to tell you. You can also select a grade level, go to the teacher schedule, select a class if you just want to see which students in that class you need to follow up with. You can do that. However, so the step is first make a list of current selection, then go to data and reporting, form reports, response reports, summer programs 2026 application. You'll see all the parents that have not responded. You click on a student number, it's going to open up the form for you and you go through the process. So you want to ask the parent, is the child coming to summer school? If they say yes, awesome. If they say no, there are some additional questions. Is the child going to any of the other available programs, sports, visual and performing arts, or STEM. They have that option. They don't have, if they decide to not go to the mandatory program, they can still go to one of those programs. The other option, are they going to go to the Quest program? And that's the 1 p.m. through 6 p.m. Still, they're not going to go to the mandatory and I want to go to Quest. They still have that option, that freedom to do. But we still want to try to make sure that they're going to that morning academic summer school. Once you have everything that's necessary, you can also verify if any emergency contact or their phone number need to be updated. And the support guide, also on our website, will show you how to update the contacts if necessary. All right. So all of this was due today on May 8th. If it's not done, please, please, please make sure, communicate with your administrators and your team to make sure that this is done. And why is it important? Because we need to be able to plan and budget for summer school, right? We need to know how many students are coming, how many staff members will need, how many resources, right? How many books, pencils, everything that's necessary, transportation, all of this ties into us getting a response as to who is coming to summer school. All right. So we definitely need your help to make sure that this is completed. And while this is going on, the summer school application is still open until May 15th again, as I said. So anybody that wants to attend summer school that's not identified as mandatory, they can still fill out that Qualtrics application up until May 15th. Okay, Q4 progress reports. These will go out on May 21st. Just like the last 3 progress reports, the same thing, nothing has changed. There are some reports in PowerSchool, the PSCB Dev reports, that we still recommend that administrators run prior to the 21st. You are the person that's going to be scheduling the document delivery. So you also want to run those reports to make sure that the information is being filled out, right? Teachers need to enter the assignments and score them, right? There should be grades in the gradebook that is going to inform the comments that are going to be entered, the final comments that are going to be entered and shared with the parents. This is very important, especially if a student is failing the class, right? You want to let the parents know in advance that there's a possibility that the student will fail the course this cycle, right? You don't want to have parents surprised at the end of the quarter with a failing grade. So there is a Q4 timeline that is already available, and it is now on our support website that you can access with the timelines. And after progress reports, we're going to move towards getting ready for Q4 report cards. All right. So on the 21st, send out those report cards via document delivery. As usual, if you experience any issues, let us know, and we're here to assist you. The end of the year closeout. So it's that time already, as I mentioned earlier, for the May 14th Clerks refresher. This is going to be a focus to make sure that our new clerks and new support staff have what's necessary, right? We will mention this in our upcoming chit chats, but we'll make sure that that will be a focus, right? So there are documents, there are forms, there is a support website, there's a support guide. All of this is already on our support website. So you can start looking at it. And if you have any questions, email us, come to the chit chat with questions. And as usual, as I said, for the schools who had 0 errors, right, that's a major part of the closeout process. So it's making sure that there is no error across all of the various data management reports, making sure that there are no errors, unresolved errors in your Google Tasks folder that Dr. Adnan has shared with you, running your attendance summary by grade, high schools, identifying students who are graduates and non-graduates, the end of year transfer out process, making sure that we know what to do, right? Student is deciding to leave the district. We want to make sure that all the documentations, the forms are filled out. We know what school you're going to. We make the appropriate comments. So there are quite a few things that are involved with the closeout process. And all of this was also shared in principal points under the district's closeout notification. But I'm sure we will also share, a specific document in an upcoming principal points. And I think that is it. So, as usual, this is our Student Information Services team. Again, our director is Mr. Darren Watsky, and we are under Ms. Rashonda Jackson, the executive director. The newsletter for May is on our support website. It spells out what needs to happen, has some important dates. Let's see. Progress reports, looking at those stored blank and missing grades, checking those out of sync reports, right? As the school year continues, teachers have the ability to make changes in the grade book. So continue to run those out of sync reports to see if there are any changes or anything grades that need to be rectified, because at the end of the school year in June, all of the grades are calculated in the teacher's gradebook. So each cycle, we store a copy of the grades on the day that we identify as the day we're storing grades. And those grades are copied and stored somewhere as historical grades. The gradebook is where the final grade is calculated. So if there have been changes to the historical grades, that shows up on the report card, but those changes haven't been made in the gradebook, then the final grade is not going to be correct. Likewise, if the teacher has gone into the gradebook and made changes in the gradebook, but somebody did not go and change those historical grades, the final grade or the grades that have been appearing on the report card, they're not correct, right? So both need to be in sync, and that's where that out of sync report comes in. Okay, so that is the chit chat. Let's see, how did I do? I don't know how long it is right now, but I think that was a good rundown of what happened during the May 7th chit chat. So our next chit chat will be on May 21st, same day that progress reports go out. So until then, I did not have it in here and I didn't have it in the chit chat, but I did wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. So all of our mothers, all of our clerks, and even if you don't have, children of your own, I know you work in a school, all of those students are your children. So thank you for serving, for nurturing, and for being who you are, for helping us maintain our data, and for being a key part of the student information services systems process, everything you can think of. All right, so thank you, and I'll see you on May 21st.